What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Pot Cuts, and in this cut, I'm gonna do a mid high top fade. Alright guys, to start off this cut, I'm gonna use my Andes Slimline Pro LIs and set in my ball guideline. So right here, I'm using my Wall 5-star shavers and getting it down all the way to the skin. So right here, I'm gonna use my Wall magic clips, and I'm gonna start with the open blade to set in that first guideline, going up at about an inch. So after you're done with making that initial guideline, you're gonna use your lever and you're gonna move it up and down to erase that first line. Also, when doing this, make sure you're doing a flicking motion so that you don't create another line. So next, I'm taking my number 1 guard and I'm taking it with the open blade. I'm not digging into the head because I don't want an undercut look, so I flick out and I'm going in on about half an inch. So right here, I still have my number 1 guard on, but I'm moving my lever up and down to create that transition from that shorter hair to the long hair on top. So here I'm taking my 1/16 guard or half guard and just cleaning up the fade. Make sure you flick out again. I can't stress that enough, because if you don't flick out, you're gonna always create another line and you're gonna have to keep moving your fade higher and higher, and that's not something you want to do. So you can see me just right there, I adjust my lever because I can hear that it's not cutting hair. So as you go up in the fade and clean it up, you always want to just keep moving your lever to get that smooth transition that you're looking for. So right here, I slap on my number 2 guard and I'm just going straight up on the head because I don't want to dig into those long hairs on top. The only reason I did this is because at the top of the fade, the hairs were a little too dark for me, but every barber has their own opinion, so it's just based on what you think looks good. So here I have my 1.5 guard and I'm fading it in to the number 2 guard that I just went in with. I'm constantly adjusting my lever to again create that transition that I'm looking for. So after all that's done, I throw on my number one guard again, and I um, go and clean up the fade, um, trying to get the fade as perfect as I can. Nothing's perfect, but the more you go over it, the better the fade will come out. Okay, so right here is the extra step. I throw on my half guard because the number one guard wasn't taking down the hair on the bottom of the fade as much as I wanted. So it's just your personal preference on what looks good to you. Okay, so now moving on to the back. The way I do my haircuts is that I section off my work. So I'll do one side and I'll do the back, then I'll move on to the other side. This is the way I learn. I'm a self-taught barber. I've never been to any classes ever, but every barber has their certain routine, and this is the routine that I'm most comfortable with. So when finishing this haircut, none of the steps ever change. It's always the same steps, but it's just you gotta look at how the hair grows and how the head is shaped. That determines what specific things you need to change. So the fade's all good, it's looking fresh. So now I saturate down the hair and I get ready for some clipper over comb work. So when doing clipper over comb, the way I do it is that I keep the comb 90-degree angle from the head. This gives me that perfect shape that I look for all the time. I don't have no guard on it. I open the blade because this gives me room just in case I don't want to take off too much hair at a time. This gives me room for error, even though you don't want to mess up anything. But yeah. Okay, so after I finish my clipper over comb, I go in with a closed blade and freehand all the sides that I did with the clipper over comb. I do this because it gives you that specific shape that you're looking for that I don't think the comb would really give you. So now moving on to the lineup, I take clips and I separate these long hairs away from his lineup. Sorry about the angle. This is only my second video I'm making, so it'll get better. But many people line up differently. This is the way that works for me, and I cut his hair a few times already, so I already know how his hairline is. So this gives me the advantage. So I don't really have to start from the middle like you should do. So after you dust your client off, you're gonna go in with your straight razor, and you always want to stretch the skin in the opposite direction that you're moving your blade in. This avoids any scratches or slices that you'll run into. I like to do it dry on his hair because his lineup really pops and he doesn't really complain about afterwards. But you can spray some water or you can use shave gels, but I don't really use them too often. I just use water. So right here I'm using Layrite Super Hold pomade and I'm styling the hair a little bit. He likes to wear his hair up. Like I said in the beginning, it's like a high top fade. So to really finalize this cut, I go in with my scissors and I just trim those extra hairs that's sticking out on the sides. This shows your client that you really care about his haircut, and that makes him feel comfortable for him to come back over and over again. So YouTube, this is how my client came in. This is my boy in college named Jamin. I had to hook him up a little bit, and here's how he walked out.
Tonight I'm gonna show what you've been missing. I'm sorry I don't pay you no attention. Tonight I'ma show you off. Tonight I'ma show you off. Tonight I'm gonna show what you've been missing. I'm sorry I don't pay you no attention. Tonight I'ma show you off.